There is this scene from Kill la Kill. You will get this quote from the first episode of the show. And for me, it is quite interesting that when I was scrolling through the internet, I saw someone compare this quote to George Orwell 1984. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. The main idea from George Orwell, if I'm not mistaken, is the idea of doublethink, a way to confuse the true meaning of the word, to hide the hypocrisy of what is going on for whoever is leading the society. A mind game that plays tricks on the subject. It is also quite interesting that when I was scrolling through Reddit, someone from 9 years ago said that they think there is nothing really going on under the subtext of Kill la Kill, and someone didn't know what is the meaning of contradiction is truth. So, this is why I'm here today, using Kill la Kill to teach you what is contradiction. But first, I'm going to list some caveats. I might use some ideas from Hegel, but I'm just an amateur philosophy lover, so I might not be right. Second, there will be no clear definitions of contradictions from this video, but rather a bunch of different approaches to the meaning of contradiction, and how contradiction should be seen as a movement and model. It is better for me to first distinguish what is a contradiction. Contradiction is not first and foremost conflict. It might sound similar, but at most conflict can only be a subcategory of contradiction. The best example I can give right now is a person who loves pear versus a person who loves apple. There is no conflict to be had, but there is a contradiction to be seen. Through this, we understand different people have different values, and usually this is why people focus on contradictions, because there is always something hiding behind contradiction. Whereas conflict is more like an Italian walking with a pizza and met a guy holding a can of pineapple.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
In the first example, the focus is geared toward the discovery of finding out a different perspective. The second most likely just devolve into a morally charged argument about what is the best way to enjoy something. It is best to understand contradiction not from a point of view of what is right and what is wrong, but rather a process of realization. Just like when Sasuke said fear is freedom, it is not wrong to fear or right to have freedom, because we need to understand why are we using this word in the first place. We can understand it through the lens of contradiction. And to do that, we need to understand what is the anime about. The setting of Kill la Kill takes place in a fictional Japan where human clothing can be seen as God because of something called life fibers. Life fibers are the sentient parasitic organisms with alien origin, and are the origin of all clothing on Earth, as well as the entities responsible for evolutions of humanities. The protagonist, Ryoko, is a female student who got enrolled into the Horyujin Academy to find out the murderer of her father, and slowly, she discovers more about the secret of life fibers. And the student president of Horyujin Academy is Sasuke, the daughter of the multi-billion fashion company CEO, Ragyo, the one who is responsible for building the academy. And just so happened, Sasuke is one of the people who knows about Ryoko's father murder cases. So the whole plot begins. With a series of affairs, we realize how hierarchical the school is. Students need to wear Goku uniforms, which are based upon the military uniforms, a symbol of pig in human clothing. And a side note, this is also true in the real world of Japan, but just without the pig in human clothing part. The Goku uniform have different ranks, with 0 star being the lowest, 3 stars being what most higher up are wearing. And those who are 3 stars gain the most amount of benefit and privilege in the school. There is even a no late day in the school system, where tons of traps will be laid out onto the street and testing out 0 star students only on the importance of being punctual. Those 0 star students who are late will get expelled immediately. It is at this point you can sense fear with Horyujin Academy with how strict they are. But then, where does the subjugations, in the quote, subjugations is liberations come from? In Kill la Kill, Sasuke actually has a plan, the complete rules of academy countrywide. They want to supply their own uniform to school all over the country. There are literally 2 episodes primarily dedicated to Sasuke's desire for conquest. The dream of subjugation is pretty clear from this example alone. The only thing left is the last phrase. Contradiction is truth. And this is where I will have to review that the famous Sasuke quote and the examples I've given so far actually have no correlation. Remember the George Orwell reference that someone made to compare it with Sasuke? I think the person who links it either didn't finish the show or completely missed the point of the show. Fear is freedom is not a way to brainwash the student into thinking that these two terms have no distinction, and everyone should just follow the lead of Sasuke. The same goes for subjugation is liberation. This is all due to the last phrase, contradiction is truth. To understand this, we should look at Attack on Titans. As we all know, Titans roam around the outskirts of the city like it is their own garden. It requires a lot of manpower each time to go on an expedition. Casualty will occur. But every single time, there will still be someone willing to venture out beyond the wall, because every fearful Titan that you encounter is an opportunity for you to fight for freedom. But here comes the trap. Let's say you encounter a tiger in the forest and successfully defeated it. You will not go around and tell everybody that you achieved freedom by defeating a fearful beast. You would just treat it as a cool story to tell others. In both situations, the tigers and the titans also just act as mindless creatures who crave for blood, but the weight of the narrative is totally different. I would say that the source that creates the difference is time. Because time creates history and time allows for introspections. There is a tremendous amount of ties that links the way how Eldians should live their life with the Titans. First of all, they have a physical, feasible war that is in between them. There is a religion involved when it comes to the matter of Titans. There are also people who you might know personally that got killed by the Titan. The way they handle production and development of the city is also heavily involved with the existence of the Titan. When every part of your life you can see the existence, it becomes obvious that the subject will build a relationship with the things that they are facing. They are required to think and not just act in a spontaneous manner. The question of how much should I risk, is freedom really that important when I can just stay inside the wall, becomes something that haunts you in the back of your mind. This is where I need to go back to Kill la Kill. The progress of time in this instance helps us understand more about the condition and past history of Sasuke. Because in episode 17, this happened. She was trying to use Honyujin Academy as a base to revolt against her own mother. All the manpower that she had in the school is the potential army forces that she had built. And if we use time to understand contradictions in this sense, it will invoke two meanings. First is the literal passage of time for the audience. For the past 16 episodes, audience were told to believe that Sasuke's goal is in line with her mother. All the authoritarian measures that were implemented is used as a tool for mind control, retelling the narrative that we are just slaves to clothing, aka life fiber. And Raguel is the divine will of God that can lead the ship under the rule of clothing. It is a form of contradictions that we have toward the message of the anime. The other meaning of time is a fictional one. If we see Sasuke as a living, breathing character, then we can only understand the actions of Sasuke by looking into the history of relationship between Sasuke and her mother. We will later on know that Sasuke had this plan in her mind since she was 5. The reason behind her revenge is because of her dead sister and the mistreatment that she received for being born as a test subject. A further analysis can also be deduced by symbolizing the contradictory value between Raguel, what a mother wants, and versus Sasuke, what the child wants. Knowing all these and adding them up together, then you would know that it doesn't actually make much sense to interpret the original quote as doublethink. Fear is freedom actually means the fear of her mother and her plan of awakening life fibers will eventually lead Sasuke and Honyujin Academy to freedom. Because the questions of who I'm fearful of will start to pop up in someone's mind, and why I'm allowing this fear to disseminate into my way of life, from architectures, rules, to the way I'm dressing. For the quote, subjugations is liberations, by allowing myself to be ruled under these current structures, Everyone in Horyunjin Academy, not just Sasuke, will have no escape but to deal with the problem. It is also exactly because they are being ruled under the same force, they can realize they have a common struggle, a common identity, the same enemies that they have to face, so the potentiality of liberations increases despite the subjugations. So the term contradiction is true in the sense that the quote fear is freedom and subjugation is liberations are truthful since they are contradictory in nature. By contradicting Raggio's ideas in these circumstances, the one who did it would then be an agent of truth. Only through these contradictions, you can review the difference in values. And the weird thing is, contradiction is everywhere, and yet it is not easy to spot. I guess this is why someone could have written Kill la Kill as just a mindless fan service show. Let me take a real life example. If we look into history from the way we treat natural environment, we will find out human beings had a different attitude toward nature. The most notable one is how we face natural disasters. There were numerous accounts of sacrifice to God, from small animals to human beings, for the sake of good weather. I still remember one old Chinese story about 4,000 years ago. A man named Gun got asked by the Emperor Yao to handle the flooding of Yellow River. He obliged to the order and went on to try to stop the flooding from happening. But after 9 years of trying, no matter how hard Gun did his work, the barrier just couldn't stop the flood. Emperor Yao at the time was totally unsatisfied with how Gun handled the situation. What ended up happening was that Gun was rumored to be exiled or had been executed under the order of the emperor. Imagine this happening right now. Someone getting executed because they don't know how to build a dam. Another example that I can think of right now is, when is the last time you heard someone tell you not to travel to a certain place because of potential famine or earthquake? Usually nowadays, people just won't travel to a place because of the crime rate. It is exactly this kind of conditions, by having contradictory value in history, we see how we view the subject matter differently. And it is with these differences we start to ponder the structure of the world that we are living in. Maybe our attitude toward natural disaster change because of technological advancement. Maybe people are getting less superstitious, etc. etc. The point is, contradiction exposes a set of process and movement and make you think. There are plenty more examples that are happening right now, which are worth mentioning. Like, how can we feel alone when big cities are full of people? How come the wealthiest cities and countries still have poverty problem, and at the same time, we expect poor countries and cities somehow can deal with poverty? All these sound contradictory on the surface level. It is only when we dive deep, we can understand the meaning behind. Toward the ends of Kill la Kill, when Sasuke and Ryuko finally defeated Raggio, they actually still choose to wear clothes. Throughout the whole show, we have been told how light fiber use clothing as a way to seduce humans. We actually even have a podcast character who call themselves Nudist Beach, a rebel organization that fight against Raggio while being naked. You would think that the ultimate point of the fight would then be choosing the dichotomy between being naked or surrendering to the light fiber. But I think the anime decided to take the third way, which is redefining what I want to wear. Remember at the start of the video, I said contradiction is not a moral argument about which one is the best option, but rather a method of understanding what is happening and what is the process. It is because of this, that's why when Sasuke said fear is freedom, she is not telling you to be fearless for the rest of your life or acquiring freedom. Because as a human being, fear is a basic human emotion. The point is, can you reshape yourself under this fear? The same goes for subjugation is liberation. We should see the sailor school uniform of Sasuke and Ryuko as rigid old traditional thinking that has been inbuilt into their mind, and being naked as a sign of rebel against traditions and parent plans for the future. The ultimate goal is not to never wear clothes again, but to wear the clothes that I like and to pursue the career that I want. This is why the ending of the song has lyrics like, "There's no way I'll become the kind of adult that you expect me to be. Don't lay out all this idealism. I'm sorry, but being a textbook honor student doesn't suit me." If there's one takeaway from Killer Kill, then it would be this. Converting the ideas of previous contradiction, synthesize it to form a life that I want. So guys, thanks for watching the video. Since it is time for Christmas, I thought it might be great to promote charity. After all, sharing is caring. I don't know much about charity organization, but from what I've researched, this seems to be a good charity organization too. But sorry, I don't know how to pronounce their name, but I'll link it in the descriptions. They try to provide aid like food, water, economic development project to Central Asia, Africa, etc. Hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe by the way. If you have any good charity organizations, feel free to promote it in the comment section too. I will continue to make different variety of content in the future. Bye.